Hi, my name's Janek Gwizdala. You're watching another interview at thelooploft.com. Well, I guess in terms of my musical background, I grew up in somewhat of a musical family. My mum played some guitar and sang, and my dad played some piano. One of the earliest baby photos, you know, the classic embarrassing albums that your parents bring out whenever your friends or your girlfriend or your wife come over, they bring it out. It's actually not so embarrassing. There were kind of less naked pictures in the bathtub and more kind of me lying on my back with a big old set of headphones on. And the caption underneath it is like, 6 months old, and I'm laying there on the floor next to the record player with the headphones on. The caption is "Weather Report, Heavy Weather," or Miles Davis, "Bitches Brew," or George Benson, or any number of these great artists and great kind of obviously unbeknownst to me then at 6 months old, but great future influences on my musical life and on my career. Yeah, from the very beginning, I think I was listening to music and kind of letting that, seep into my subconscious. Thanks to my parents, and so many other influences are involved in there through growing up. From my mum's taste in music being Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell and Joan Baez and Elkie Brooks, and I'm totally spacing on a lot of other really important artists there, but a lot in the folk, singer-songwriter vein. So I think music all round is probably the best way to describe it. What brought me from London? There are so many reasons. I think always wanting to find new challenges and find new things to do, especially musically. And at the time when I moved, when I was 17 or 18 or so, when I moved to the States. Initially I came to go to school. I went to Berklee College of Music, and was enrolled in the school and meeting people and playing gigs, and that everything was kind of confirmed to me. The first 2 weeks that I moved to the States, everything was confirmed. All the reasons why were definitely confirmed. The higher level of playing, the kind of the opportunities that were afforded to you by living in this country, and the kind of musicians that you get to interact with, and the experiences that I've ended up having since moving here, I don't think would have been as possible, especially in down the path that I chose. I chose to be a jazz musician, and to play improvised music, and not solely playing improvised music. Of course, I play pop music and R&B music and jazz and Latin and funk and all these different things, and my own music, whatever that is. But I think those initial kind of aspirations to play improvised music and to be a bass player in what was left, or what is left, of the jazz idiom, that was a huge part of moving to the States. And like I said, it was all confirmed to me, not just in those first couple of weeks. There's that uncertainty when you get on the plane and you travel thousands of miles and you leave your family and friends and loved ones behind to go and pursue this dream, this thing that you want to do. There's a little apprehension there, but all nerves and all apprehensions were kind of wiped out after the first couple of weeks of being there, when I realized what an incredible opportunity it was that I was being given to pursue this, and that feeling, when I fast forward, I ended up quitting Berklee. I was only there for 3 semesters, less than 2 years, and I quit and I moved to New York. So for me, there was another period of a little apprehension, again, leaving something that I was quite used to, that I'd been around for a while in Boston, and moving to a new city. Although I'd spent quite a bit of time in New York, it was a new city, and a new apartment, and a new gig, whatever that was going to be. And once again, I think the apprehension I felt initially moving there was wiped out within I think minutes even when it came to New York, just because it was such a vibrant place to be, and still is, you know, and a place to create, and a place to learn, and a place to network, and a place to meet people. So I think it's, on the whole, has been an unbelievably positive experience, and I get asked questions a lot about it from younger musicians, like, oh, what do you think? Should I go and try it out? Should I go to America? What are the pros? What are the cons? And I say, if you're young enough, do it. At least try it. You know, at least save up some money, save enough to come for a couple of months and just see if you like it. You know, if you have a similar personality to mine, and you really want to go after something, want to go and get it, and you have a hunger to learn, I think somewhere like New York, or just the mentality in the United States with music in general, can really help to feed that. My biggest musical influences, well, I think aside from the obvious ones, you know, I'm a bass player. I was inspired to play bass by a fantastic bass player in the UK, by Lawrence Cottle. I was exposed to not just great bass players, but great musicians by him, both locally and, you know, on recording. So aside from the obvious bass influences like James Jamerson and Jaco Pastorius and John Entwistle and man, there are just so many really obvious ones. I think my biggest musical influences now come from outside of the immediacy of music. I think they come from the rest of my life, from my wife, from my friends, from my family, from everyday experiences that I try to express through music. I think those have ended up becoming the greatest influences on me and on what I do. You know, we recently just made a documentary about the making of my latest album, It Only Happens Once, and through that process, you know, it really highlighted during the interview process for the documentary. It really highlighted just how important real life is, and how we're before we're a musician and before we have this technique, or as a drummer, or as a bass player, or a horn player, whatever it is, before we have all these things, we're actually a human being. And there are so many components that go into being a human being that in order to function as something on top of a human being, as a musician, as I do, as a lot of us do, you really have to nurture that basic human kind of infrastructure and happiness and kind of mental workflow, and all of these really kind of very simple, very basic, very human elements to our everyday lives that quite often get overlooked when we're so focused on being a musician. And I think we tend to put a little bit too much emphasis on the directly musical aspects of our lives. And I think the more you get in tune with the rest of your life and the human element of your life, the more, you know, like I said, the more influence that's going to have on you, and the more honest you're going to be with your opinion, with your performance. And I think just the more open other people are going to be to listen to you, because I think it's very easy to relate to somebody else having a common human experience in their life. I think that's why so many love songs become popular, or heartbreak songs become popular, because they're quite easy to relate to. So the more we can let that human element of our lives breathe, I think the more positive an influence it has on our music. Career highlights. What are some of my career highlights? Wow. I think that the one highlight is that I'm still here. I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm not in jail, and I'm not dead, and I'm not drunk in a gutter somewhere, or you know, I'm not going through some sort of inner hell right now. I think those are like that is my big career highlight. You know, I've had some people have been very very positive and very kind, and said nice things about certain things that I've done, and there have been certain achievements. You know, physical achievements and awards and these kind of things. But for me, starting off as a musician, those accolades were never the focus. I was always doing what I do to communicate with other people, and if I've kind of had an impact on just one person, or one person a year, or one person a month, or maybe even if I'm doing really well, one person a day, and I've positively impacted that person's life by doing whatever it is I do, musically or writing or whatever it is I do, communication wise, I think that's a career highlight in itself. And it's very, like, the ego is a really funky thing, and it's a really it can be huge. It can really get in the way of what we do as musicians. And I think the more I've worked on kind of putting the ego aside and not making kind of accolades and milestones and kind of physical, tangible goals the focus, and kind of try to put that aside as much as I can, and made communication the focus. And made communication the focus. I think it's just added to the positivity of the way I feel in my life, and the way what I do impacts others.